differently abled, differently.
Welcome back. While there has been remarkable progress in terms of accessibility and inclusivity for persons with disabilities, many hurdles are still persistent. We sought to explore the challenges they face, shedding light on the milestones made and barriers that prevent their full participation in society.
The challenges that we do face, most of them are surround orientation and mobility and employment.
As a country, hatuja invest ya kutosha kuangalia hali ya watu wenye changamoto ya ulemavu. And one of the things ambayo naweza sema kabisa ni upande wa majengo ama the buildings. You see, most of our buildings are not favoring the persons with disabilities. And it is standard procedure internationally that any building, any government building or any other building that someone is building, they must provision ile hali ambayo itawawezesha walemavu, tuseme kama ni walemavu wasio na uwezo wa kutembea, wajue jinsi ambavyo wataweza kuingia kwa hayo majengo.
The way the facility has been built up does not facilitate, though I know there was a law that was implemented to that effect, but we realize that most of the buildings are old and they lack the capacity to enhance that facilitation. And so that is to mean, again, if they get to a building which lacks the facilitation, they have to get an extra hand really to move them from one point to another. So that also becomes quite a challenge for them, to be able to carry out their engagements and their undertakings in a more conducive environment.
Mobility-wise, most of the places that we stay in are not, constructed in a friendly manner or accessible. So it becomes a bit of a challenge. Like when I'm navigating through town, there are some parts that I can actually go on my own, but some I literally have to, ask for assistance or, just commute either by a bike or, or vehicle. And it's simply because it's totally inaccessible. Yeah, the pavements are uneven. The roads, parts of the roads are totally, have potholes and open manholes, and the fear of falling into one is absolute.
Utatembea in most of our buildings, unapata kuna lifts, but there is no provision of how a person with disability, those ones who are on wheelchairs, will be able to get inside. So inabidi wanatafuta watu wa kuwabeba na kuwapeleka ndani. So
when you look at the transport industry, there is no proper infrastructure that enables them to or facilitate their travel from one point to another, because you see there are no ramps and all that in the more so like in our local matatu industry. I see them facing a lot of challenges, more so when they are those who are using the wheelchairs. They have to be folded and all that, and they have to get somebody to carry them into the vehicle.
There are no specific infrastructure for them, like ramps. In most of the places are stairs, and them with the wheelchairs, they can't climb stairs.
There are those who are able, financially capabilities and stabilities. They are able to, they have liquidity, and they're able to purchase properties and, like cars and properties like in real estate. But again, you realize also for those that own vehicles, there are no designated specific areas which are earmarked that this one is specifically for people with disability, for persons with disability, that they can come and park here. And if there be, maybe there could be different few, maybe. There could be few within the town. But again, you realize that people don't rather people have total disregard of these provision and parking slots for people with disability. Somebody will come and park there without the care in the world that this one is designated and reserved for people with disability.
The issues to do with tenders, government tenders, you'll find that the persons with disabilities who have had the privilege to go to school in better schools, who have been empowered, or maybe they come from families that are well financed. They take their persons with disabilities to good schools, they get the information, they get the knowledge. These are the people who will be out there fighting for their rights. But let us think about these persons with disabilities who come from the villages. Way back in Kakamega, somewhere there in the village, there are so many persons with disabilities who are not accessing education.
There is a lot of disenfranchisement when it comes to how they are able to carry out their business, for instance, on the streets and all that. Like I've seen, of course, there are those that have been given a provision to hawk. I think is something to do with the county government. But again, the first challenge when more so, there is a soup, and everybody has to, scoop whatever they have and take flight. Then, of course, they're disenfranchised because they cannot, take flight.
The government is also not prioritizing on how they will give them funds. Yes, we have a fund that is revolving to help these persons with disabilities. But then you realize that it is not reaching the majority. The people with disabilities who are benefiting, most of them are people who are well known or able. But wale watoto ambao wako kule mashinani kabisa, ambao wanapitia matatizo, those disabled children, hawafikiwi. Their families, they are not getting these funds.
You find that they are not able to communicate conducively, maybe in different environment and localities, and also with people that have been socialized differently. Yeah, sometimes maybe they will get into a situation whereby they are roughed up simply because they cannot be able to explain themselves, or the other person cannot be able to understand.
We should be more aware when dealing with these people and know when to toe the line so that we don't go to a point where we feel like we are making them feel less of human beings.
Our persons with disability are not getting education as per the international standards. You realize that we have very few schools that cater for persons with disabilities. And the schools that exist, they're also kind of discriminative, because you find that persons who are blind or who cannot see, they have maybe the best schools. But you realize these other people who are able differently, like people who are facing cerebral palsy or others, most of them, they have to find these schools. It is my thinking that the government should make it a right that every public school must have a class that will cater for persons with disability.
As for unemployment, most of the persons with disabilities usually get opportunities for internships and attachments, but employers have that fear of employing them. They really hold back, and I can say that I'm fortunate to be among the few who've gotten an opportunity to get a job after internship and attachment working with KBC. And I have to say, over here, I wasn't just given an opportunity to work, but also given a friendly working environment. The infrastructure here is disability enabled. We got ramps. I'm allowed to work with my computer that has, screen readers, and I was given access to softwares that I can be able to work with and edit with. So I can fairly say that KBC it's friendly to persons with disabilities, and I'm not the only one. Yeah.
We need more schools that are within the locality that are friendly to persons who are able differently. And the facilities as well should have consideration, including the offices that they walk into. You find some have very huge reception desks. That platform where they can talk to the people on the other side, probably they don't even get to see them, especially for those who are on wheelchairs and stuff like that. They should consider such persons. In our vehicles, there is never a provision for persons with disability. So transport for them is actually very difficult. Sometimes I ask myself, what if one day I have such and such a challenge? How would I operate within this city? It's technically very difficult for a person with disability to actually make it have an easy time around anywhere in this country, and I believe much needs to be done.
Most people who are able different, they are being hidden. They don't go to school. So this person cannot read, write, they cannot understand the policies that the government is running. Something like to do with housing. How many will understand if they are not having someone who can give them that idea that this exists? So you'll find that there are very few people, there are very few persons with disability who will benefit.
Most of the time, in our matatus, in any public place where social services or public services are being rendered, you will hear someone saying, ule kiwete, or ule mtu ako na macho mbaya. When we need to know how to address them, there are people like us, you can just ask them their names. You don't have to say ule kiwete because that is so offensive to them.
If you want to make sure that we empower persons with disabilities, let us start from giving them the right education. And from there, when we give them the right education, they will be knowledgeable and they can understand these policies, and then they will benefit directly. They'll be able to fight for their rights.